Planning and Zoning meeting to order. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor to Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible. All right. First up, we have item 3.1. Consider the appointment of a chairperson and vice chairperson. I guess I need a motion, or do we need discussion?
Take a nomination.
Okay, I'll take a nomination. We have all new people on the board. Can I make a nomination? I can't, can I? Oh, okay. I would like to nominate current Chairman Robert Rohde to chairperson again this year. Can I nominate myself? Okay. Okay, and I'll nominate myself, Leslie Swalge, to serve as vice chairman again this year. So, do I have a second?
I second.
Okay. Any discussion? Anybody want to arm myself? Okay.
No.
All right, all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Okay. The next item up, we'll have a public hearing, discussion, and action involving a request from C&G Ros Development for approval of a final plat for the Rosini Vineyards Addition. Before I open the public hearing, I'm going to invite Maxwell Fisher to give the staff report on this item. Yes. Okay.
Both of them or one? Maxwell Fisher, acting city planner for City of McLendon-Chisholm. I'd like to make a presentation here and present the request before you, which is a two-lot subdivision final plat by C&G Ros Development. They're requesting final plat for two lots. The lot on the non-residential lot would be for a wine and vineyard facility that was recently approved by Planned Development District for the use. They are now requesting final plat approval to create a legal building site. With that, there'll be right-of-way dedication to comply with the thoroughfare plan. There's also a mutual access easement that provides access to the back lot that would be platted or dedicated with this plat. The final engineering drawings would be reviewed by the city engineer prior to the building permit being approved and before construction is started. One thing I'd like to note is that this is not a zoning item, and so there really should be limited or no discussion on the actual use of the property. Plats, basically, the state of Texas says the plats have to be approved if they meet zoning and subdivision regulations. And so we found this plat to meet the zoning and subdivision regulations, and that it must be approved by the commission. And it, basically the use and everything and zoning that was discussed prior to and approved by the council really shouldn't be part of the discussion today. And so the discussion should be limited to the lot configuration, right-of-way dedication, utility easements, access easements, things that have to do not with the actual use and the zoning of the property. I'll stop there and be happy to answer any questions.
Hi, I have a question.
Sure.
So maybe I'm just not clear then. I understand this is actually a zoning conversation, but in reviewing the background information, it appears in 2018 this information was rezoned from a residential area.
Yes.
To a planned development inclusive of to allow for the winery. So what I'm trying to understand is now the June information is requesting both the winery and residential, And I'm trying to understand, where did the zoning reoccur for it to be back to residential if in 2018 the zoning was changed?
So the scope of the zoning change was only for the property, the smaller parcel up front, where the vineyard and the winery is going to go. It did not include the part zone single family in the back because they didn't want to change that. That's going to remain single family. So that's why the PD scope was limited to the smaller acreage of the front, and the balance of the property to the rear would remain single-family zoning.
Okay, and related to the single family, asking you as the city planner, that complies with our current platting of 1.5 acres, all of that has been...
It's 2.5, that's correct. The zoning requires a minimum of 2.5 acres, and that the lots are larger than that. They comply with the zoning.
Okay, thank you. I know it wasn't zoning, but it just wasn't clear. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, sure. Oh, and I want to make one other comment. The first report that you saw was the previous zoning consultant's report because there was already a preliminary plat approved on this. This is the final, so we left it in that same format. Then the next plat to come before you after this hearing is more of our format, and so we wanted to let you see two different formats so you could see which one you like better, and you can let us know.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Fisher? Okay, thank you, Mr. Fisher. Okay, with that, I would like to open the public hearing, and I would first like to invite the applicant to speak if they'd like.
Hi, I'm Greg Rosini. I'm the owner of the property at 411 South Highway 205. I'm here to answer any questions if you have questions regarding the plotting and the project. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Mark Kippett, 31 Fireside. So I am a member of the Economic Development Panel that was put together by the prior council, so just for full disclosure. I want to say that I completely agree with bringing economic development into the city and the desire to expand our tax base and to include commercial development. And therefore, given the action that's before you, I would encourage you to approve the plat. But I do want to take this opportunity to direct some comments to the Rosinis. I think, in all fairness to your fellow neighbors, that it would be an appropriate consideration for you to fully assess and understand the impacts of your current business plan as you move forward and how the property is being utilized in the interim. The city encourages the development to include the development of a vineyard winery. I think the pathway to get there that's being chosen right now is not the best for the sake of the city. So I'll just leave it at that since it's restricted to the plat discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
I'm Jeremy Skinner. I live at 261 Meadow Park, which is adjacent to the Rossini's property. I understand we're past the zoning phase. I would like a little bit of clarification from the council. However, back to your zoning question, my understanding was that the original 25 acres past the commercially zoned mark was for agricultural use. Was it 2.5 acres and agricultural?
I believe it's zoned 2.5 residential.
Yeah. Let me just hit this button. Can you hear me? No. Okay.
I mean, yes, but not.
Thanks. Yeah, the zoning has been single-family 2.5, so it allows for single-family development with a minimum lot size of 2.5 acres.
Okay. And my other question is about the plat itself. Is the plat approval dependent upon the designated use of the plat? Or can they come in and build a concrete plant there if they want to, now that it is zoned commercial? Or can they only come in and build the winery that they've designated in their paperwork?
Mr. Fisher, if you can answer that.
So the plan development zoning that was approved was specifically approved for the particular winery vineyard. They have to build that. There's a site plan and landscape plan tied to that ordinance. So they have to adhere to those conditions that are in the PD ordinance and the site plan and the landscaping and buffering, and then whatever's also in the code, unless it's said otherwise in that PD.
So last year we were given a site plan. The site plan that we were given included development on the entire 25 acres. Has there been a revised site plan that was not distributed, that we didn't receive any notification of?
I'm not aware of any site plan for non-residential development outside of the PD zoning tract, which is on the south side. You might want to verify that with the applicant to verify that's something that they should verify on record.
Okay. So I guess the last thing I would bring up here is that I've only lived in this house for a year, and this is something that started 2 days. I learned about it 2 days after I moved in. I wouldn't have moved there if I knew this was going to happen. We fought the zoning. This board recommended against it. They passed anyway. The plat here calls for a winery. The Rosinis are not building a winery. I got every definition of a winery right here. I'll be happy to submit it into the record. A winery is a place that wine is made, or a place that wine is distilled, or where grapes are converted into wine. They are growing ornamental grapes. They have no intention of making wine. What they want to do is have a bar where wine is served. They want to have a place where people can go and have parties, just like the unlicensed event venue they're renting right now as a rental house and advertising for weddings and events. Their goal is to host events. It's not a winery by any stretch of the definition of winery. They are opening a bar, and that is inconsistent with the plat that they provided, and they should not be allowed to do so. That is all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Skinner.
Robert Quinn, 1401 Carrara. My question is in regards, due to the limitations, about single-family zoning. Does that allow the use of are you able to use that as a venue, as a corporate venue, as a wedding venue, if it's zoned single-family?
Yes, the PD allows for a vineyard or winery. They still have to meet, if they're going to serve alcohol, they still have to meet TABC regulations in terms of
the single-family
protecting
zoning portion.
No, not single-family. Single-family is not protected from alcohol.
So the single-family portion, as it is zoned, cannot be a corporate event center or
correct.
a wedding venue.
Correct. It can't be. You cannot use the single-family portion for as a wedding venue or something that would not be classified as single-family.
Thank you.
I have a question.
I would just like to add, however, that it can, under the current laws, be used as a short-term rental property for as little as one night for parties and other events, like the house on the property currently is being used.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I've heard a lot of things, and I understand a lot of things that are being said, and I appreciate a lot of things that are being said. I want to address the winery. You're 100% incorrect that it is not going to be a winery, but it's going to be a bar. I'm getting educated. I'm completing my education at Grayson County College. I make wine now. I've made wine for a long time. It is very good wine. The property does have the ability to make wine. He is correct in some regards, is that the vineyard that I have grown there now is of ornamental grapes. I do hope to make wine out of those, but it would be very small batch because McLendon-Chisholm is not a fantastic place for growing grapes. So my first vineyard is experimental. I do plan on growing future grapes if these grapes are successful, and I plan to make wine. However, he's incorrect that a winery grows grapes. That is not correct. A winery makes wine. A winery can serve wine, and we will be doing that. But we buy our grapes mainly from the high plains. I've contracted wine. I'm making wine now for when the building opens. So that is incorrect that we won't be making it. I have tanks that will be on the property. I have a production room that will be on the property. This is to be a winery. This is not to be a wedding venue. It is not to be a party room. And I can understand the concerns because we do have a rental property on there right now that has short-term rentals. And in our very integral, very beginning, when we started renting things on Airbnb, we did have some people that came in and rented our place that we were not appreciative of, that did not treat our property right, did not treat the neighbors right. And I respect that. I know, Leslie, you're a neighbor there. I know some of these other people are neighbors. And so we have put restrictions on that property, the single-family residence. These are two separate plats. And I do want to be part of the city solution to fix that. One of the kind of things that you do is you put a stoplight in and there's an accident. You don't ban cars. You fix the problem. And so I want to be part of the solution on the rental issue before you just ban it. And so I appreciated this gentleman saying he appreciates, that he's approves of the winery, but he thinks we need to look at our plan a little bit better. I'd be happy to stay after today and discuss with anybody who wants to reasonably discuss that with me. But to somebody who wants to slander me or to say lies in front of any of the city council, I limit my right to talk to those people too. So I'd be happy to stay here after this and talk to you. But from the standpoint of the winery itself, the plat in the front, we will grow some grapes. We'll make some wine out of those grapes. We will buy most of our grapes from the High Plains area, which is the best place for growing grapes in Texas. And we will make the wine on our property once the building is complete. And that is our plan. Thank you.
Mr. Rosini?
Yes.
Question for you.
Yes.
Related to stewardship of neighbors, what are your projected hours of the winery operation?
Thursday through Sunday, noon to 8 on Thursday through Saturday. Is that correct, Carol?
I think we're going to do 9 on Saturday.
9 on Saturday and 6 on Sunday, I believe.
Yeah, at 6 p.m.
Yeah, so it would be open only Thursday through Sunday.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
On the plat, it shows that you have a significant amount of property within this lot in the north portion. Is there any? Do you have any plans in terms of development? Are you going to put grapes there? Or
Actually, if you drive by,
anything else that's planned there?
Actually, if you drive by, you see that we've got the 3.5 acres. That's because we needed the property to go back to the pond and to be able to have the space with the vineyard and the building. So we're using the space on the right hand of the property. It's vacant really on the left hand of the property, and I don't have a proposal or a plan to build anything on the left side of the property. But we needed access to the pond. It actually is pulling water to the grapes right now, backed up by city water. And we have our first vineyard planted, of which there's 120 plants, grapevines that are growing, and when you drive by, you can see them coming up.
Are you familiar with the number of neighbors that you have surrounding this property altogether, the whole 25 acres?
On the whole 25 acres, I believe there's 10 adjacent homes.
10 adjacent homes.
Mm-hmm. Seven on the east side, and I think only 3 on the, or I guess on the north side and south side. There'd be 7 on the north side, I believe, 3 on the south side, I believe.
Mr. Rosini?
Yes.
What is the intention of the short-term rental once this winery is in fully operational?
The house was remodeled. We were renting it out mainly on Airbnb, and we require a 2-night stay. We are very strict about putting in our contract that noise is to stop at 9. I know there have been some issues on that, and my sad part is that nobody's called me on it except for one woman that called us recently. I was only made aware of a petition that was going around, or a letter that was going around, only within the last week. And anybody who would like my personal phone number that's adjacent to that property, believe me, if you call me and somebody's abusing my property, I will run them off myself. Because I have had some very excellent people rent. My wife could read to you from our guest book of some of the very wonderful people that have stayed there. Most of the people are coming in for family reunion, They've come in for weddings, recently for funerals. And we advertise the home as being able to sleep 11, up to 11 people. So what we're seeing is usually it's 2 or 3 family members, different groups of family coming in from out of town, or usually one member is local and 2 are coming in from out of town, and they'll use the place. They'll have a family reunion there. They won't have a wedding there. We've never had a wedding there, but we've had wedding parties stay there who are getting married at Hidden Creek, or there's about 6 wedding venues around, and so people will come and stay at the house. I don't believe we've had very many unruly people there. I do know we've had a couple of unruly people, and it is our desire to reduce that strictly and really regulate that. When the winery opens, truthfully, we would like to raise our price quite a bit, and I think that would limit some of those people coming. I would say that I'm seeing more bachelorette parties, maybe of small group, not huge parties. That's not really what we're about, and we don't want to be that. We're not wild partiers, although it seems that people think we are. So, any other questions I can answer?
I would just like to talk about some of the families that have stayed at our house, and they are all very appreciative to have a place where they can bring family members from out of town or out of state and have a meaningful family time. One of our recent guests, they were stayed June 30th through July 2nd. Their original plan was to go to Florida, and they were going to meet other family members in Florida, take their sister down there, so everybody could spend time with their sister there. But the hospice nurse told them that she was no longer able to travel because she's at the end of her 10-year battle with cancer. So it says, your home helped us all to come together and bring some joy to a very special member of our family. The memories we were able to capture here will forever stay with us. We thank you so much for the opportunity that you and your home gave to us, and we please, I'm sorry, I didn't bring my glasses. Thank you. Oh my gosh. Please also know that your home will forever now be one of the best places we have ever had the chance to stay at, and will be etched in our hearts always. Thank you so much. And that's just one of the testimonials. Our book is full of several, and the families that have come together. Like I said, the house is in the middle of about 6 wedding venues. We don't have to have weddings. There's like 6 venues around us, but families will stay there because it's close. And so the most thing that we've had happen there is rehearsal dinners. The family will have a rehearsal dinner. I am getting a lot more picky as to what I allow there, because we spent a lot of money remodeling that house, and we want it to stay nice. We want people to have a 5-star stay, and that is our goal, is for people to have these type of family get-togethers that are meaningful and memorable. We've already got somebody booked for Christmas this year, and they asked if they could decorate or if the pictures they saw were with how it's going to be. I said, no, we decorate for Christmas. Last year we had, I think, 3 family Christmases at the house. And like I said, most people are very respectful and very appreciative of the family time that they have at our house. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reed. Anyone else?
May I speak one last time?
You think so?
I would just like to respond to that as someone who stays in Airbnbs all over the country on a regular basis, generally very quietly with my family on vacations. It's loud. They can talk about all the nice people they have there. Nice people can be loud. My neighbors on the 4th of July, they had maybe 50 people over at their house. It was loud. It was noisy. It was one night. That's okay. You know, that's being good neighbors. You have a party, they invited us over, it was all fine. When you're renting out a house where they're having a party 100 yards from your swimming pool in your backyard every night, it doesn't matter if it's, you know, they're saying, okay, it sleeps 11 people. I've seen way more than 11 people over there. All the time. Way more than 11 people over there, especially on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. There will be music going on all day. If I go outside to walk my dogs, I'm listening to their music. These two are the last people in the world I would call, because they are bad neighbors. They've proven that from the very start. No one wants them there, yet they insist on being there. The rental property is the same as the winery. Intentions do not matter. Reality matters. It's affecting my life. It's affecting my property value. It's affecting the future of a home that I invested a great deal in. Regardless of what they say, the facts are all that matters. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Skinner. Okay. Anyone else like to speak before we? Okay, that'll close the hearing, or I'll close the, with that I'll close the hearing.
I have a question.
Oh, of course.
There's a conflict, obviously, and this may be outside the realm of our domain, but there's obviously a conflict with this gentleman who just left. And how do we, as public servants, kind of come to a conclusion as to what's the best for, not only for you guys? I'm sorry. How do you resolve a problem like this? I'm having some problems with believing him and believing you guys at the same time, but obviously, there's a reality, but each of you share a different reality.
Sure.
I'm perplexed, to tell you the truth on this. If you're going to have a business, and I've had a business in my lifetime, that you want, especially in Rockwall, in McLendon-Chisholm, you can have a very successful business here, and you don't have to cater to any kind of element that is going to create a problem for your business. So
I absolutely agree.
help me out with this.
I will. First of all, I do want to state a couple of people have brought up comments, and I'm very willing to work with those people. That gentleman who was so angry at the day that the city council approved our zoning came to me and he said, "You have not heard the last of me. I will be a thorn in your side for every day that I live here."
Does he have cause for that?
This was before we were renting the property, so I can't really say, because nothing had happened. He'd been here 2 days when he moved in, and he said, "I heard this." He came to the board. He was very vocal. I don't know the man. I have not talked to him away from this building only. And again, Leslie knows the property. She could tell you, and honestly, she could tell you it's a nuisance if it's a nuisance. She could tell you how often it's a nuisance if it is. And if it is, I wish Leslie would call me and say, "Hey, you guys got people over here. It's 8:30 and they're being obnoxious." I would go over there myself. I do not live far from that house. I did have plans to move into this house, and be honest with you, I kind of wanted to wait until I knew that I could do what I'm going to do before I did that. The people around there have been very hostile from day one about the winery. Now it's the rental property because I think it's one more thing to do. I don't want to be a bad neighbor. I do not want to be a bad neighbor. We have already changed the rules on that place. We do not let anybody come in there who doesn't have positive ratings from other renters. We won't let anyone come in without a rating. That's possible. Airbnb doesn't force you to do that. We want that. We list a 9 o'clock curfew for loudness. I've only ever been called by one neighbor one time, and we were very apologetic, and we gave him our number. We said, "Call us anytime, and we'll put a stop to anything that's unruly." It's our property. People that are out there yelling and screaming and being obnoxious, probably not treating our house well either, and this is a large investment of a property. So you're right. I mean, how do I do that? I can only say, he said good intentions. I really was only made aware of this issue last week when a letter from Leslie's husband went out around the neighborhood. I wish Leslie would have picked up the phone and called me and said, "Let's talk. This is BS." And I would have said, "Hey, Leslie, we know there's been some BS. I don't want this to go on." It's our property. We don't want to be, I don't want to, the only thing I can tell you is I don't want a louder winery. I don't want parties and weddings at our winery. I don't. They can always say, hey, wait, you know, all his intentions are great. Well, we've been renting the house for a year, and like I said, I know you guys talk, so maybe you can tell me, Leslie, if it's been 10 nights in a year, 30 nights in a year, 50 nights in a year, obnoxious people during the day. I don't know the answer to that. I can tell you, I checked with the Rockwall police. They have been called one time. One time is what they've been called. And you know what? We were called by the neighbor that same time too. The neighbor who called the police called us, and we said, we're putting a stop to it. And we held those people's deposit. We did not let, they wanted to book again. We would not let them return. We put a very bad comment on their profile, and we changed our rules after that. So, you know.
I mean, I don't know, sitting in this chair, I don't know how much I should say. So it has been a terrible summer. It has been a problem all summer. And I do know the police have been called more than once, because I know I have called them more than once. And sheriff, and I agree, maybe we should have called you. I don't, again, sitting here as chair, I don't feel like I should get too into this, and maybe we should talk after. But
no, I would love to do that. I would love to do that.
I will tell you just, and this is where I come from and where I come from in my heart, I've had to take my 5- and 6-year-old inside because I felt like what they were hearing in our backyard was inappropriate. And that I cannot live next to. And that is where I come from. But again, I think that's something that we just need to deal with.
Exactly. And so from my standpoint, again, the zoning today, we've gone way off topic, I know. But having said that, I do appreciate what these people are saying, and I do want to make this a positive thing for the city. I don't want it to be negative. Obviously, we have a house there that we want to do something with. We don't want to bulldoze it or you know, do something else with it. We've renovated it. It's a beautiful home. You can see it online. You can see the rules that we put down. But obviously, we need to do something different. I am going to talk to the city council myself, because I want to talk to every member, and I say, hey, do you want to outlaw it, or do we want to regulate it? Do we want to make laws? Do we want to be able to ticket people who are in a home with that, or ticket the owner even if that's necessary? Because I don't want that. Now, I live in a neighborhood right down the road. I live in High Point Lake Estates. Our homes are much closer together. And I sleep well at night, and there's a party every Saturday in our neighborhood easily. I don't know why it doesn't seem to bother me, but I got to be respectful of the people that it does. And I do want to be a good neighbor. And I think you guys would know from our discussions, I'm not an unreasonable guy. I'm not a bad guy. I'm not a party guy for dang sure. She'll tell you I'm in bed every night at 9 o'clock myself. But if we're going to continue to do this thing, the one thing I do think is that I looked at it as, let's test this out. Once the winery's open, we really want to raise the price of it because we want it to be an exclusive place to stay. I do think that you're not going to get younger people there that are wanting to party when you raise the price, but I did not want to raise the price when there's going to be a construction site there, and that's the truth. So right now it's $300 a night on weekdays, $350 on weekends. We anticipate doubling that almost. So I do think that again, money doesn't change anything, but we also won't let people have a birthday party there anymore. We had a couple of people that did a birthday party there. They trenched our yard all up. Obviously they were drinking and couldn't drive. So, you know, we're cognizant of these things, and we do want to address it. And it does make me feel bad if people our neighbors are saying, hey, this isn't right. It's a big property, 25 acres. Not every home is on top of this place, but, you know, I've been told, you know, hey, we can hear it. And one of the things I want to do is I want to go up there because it does have a intercom system with speakers on the outside. If people are pumping noise on that, I want to know how loud it gets. So I do plan on being a good neighbor in this way. Unfortunately, as I said, I was first made aware of this when your husband put out a letter and mailed it out to a lot of people, not to me, but mailed it out to a lot of people to complain about us without ever having reached out to us and trying to work it out. So this was last week. I will make comments to the city council. I'll meet with the members. I will meet with anybody who wants to talk to me because I would like to be part of future guidelines for the city if we're going to do that. If we're the first Airbnb person in McLendon-Chisholm and we've not been good stewards, you're going to outlaw it versus saying, hey, we need to regulate it. So maybe that we do outlaw it. I don't know. But I want to be part of the discussion. I want to be part of the solution. I don't want to be, you know, I don't want to have a winery where everybody's mad at me. The only problem is I can tell you, doing the winery thing, everywhere I go, people tell me from McLendon-Chisholm, they say, I can't wait for the winery to be open. I can't wait for the winery to be open. I can't wait for the winery to be open, except for our neighbors that are on the property. I'm very cognizant of it, but they're not going to know that the winery is not a big party place until the proof's in the pudding. So that's where I'm at.
Mr. Rosini,
Yes, sir.
I will share
Yes,
with
ma'am.
you, it is very concerning to me, the inconsistencies that we're hearing just in this room tonight, much less what you're sharing has been going on. You report there's been one sheriff's report. We're hearing from somebody that they personally have made additional calls. So I'm just questioning the alignment of information that is being received to this panel this evening. The fact that these concerns have been going on for so long, and you attest that one individual has called you, but you want to be part of the solution. I would say, Mr. Rosini, your words are not matching your actions, because if that were the case, more people would be reaching out and approaching you. We are an incredibly vocal community.
Yes.
As you're realizing. We're not shy.
No.
We're very open to addressing concerns one-to-one. The inconsistency, it concerns me, and I know that this is off topic. I'm new to this role, trying to understand, but we are here, and regardless of what committee we sit on, we all have a responsibility to be great stewards to our community. And in all transparency with you, I don't feel that right now.
Okay.
And I don't see that represented by the neighbors around your property. So I think there just needs to be a lot more discussion.
Okay, and I would just like to comment. I mean, from the inconsistency standpoint, I do not see where the inconsistency is. I've only been notified one time. I've only been called by one neighbor. Carol, would you like to come up at all and talk? We had communications with them. We gave them our number. We said, call us anytime if there's anything. Just never contacted us back. Said in writing, we've got the emails, said that was the only incident we ever had. That was a wedding party that came in, they got married in Hidden Creek, and they had a wedding party. And she actually apologized to us after. She says, I'm sorry. It was because it was on a weekend. She says, I didn't know it was a wedding party. I feel bad saying it. And we were like, not at all. You should let us know. So again, I was made aware by the letter that he wrote only a week ago that I was copied on that letter. And like I said, I'm here and I'm willing to address it. If you think that's inconsistent, I understand that, but I don't think that I've been inconsistent. I think I'm trying to be part of the solution. So, and again, like I said, it does not make sense, as Daniel said, it does not make sense that we have a winery business and we're pissing off everybody that's around us. I don't want to do that. I do not want to do that. And I'm going to stay here afterwards, and I'm going to talk to the gentlemen who've talked to me. And like I said, we'll come up with a solution. We'll come up with steps to try to fix that. So,
if you don't rectify the problems that supposedly are having here on the back portion of the property, your winery will suffer by it long.
I absolutely agree.
It's a business adventure for you, and as you've alluded to earlier, the cost element is, I mean, just in these plans alone, I was equating how much money this costs.
Absolutely.
And I know about startup businesses. I did 3 or 4 of them. And
as have I. Yes, sir.
You don't want to compromise your investment. And so if that back property starts to compromise your frontal property, and this is where you're going to be making your living, then, or a preponderance of it, then you have to come to some conclusion as to what you're going to do.
Absolutely.
In your best interest.
And I do agree. And again, I can say we're talking about platting today. I know I have to go to City Council again. I'm sure we'll have the same discussion then. I do plan on talking to the City Council members. Again, if they want to make guidelines to the city on how we handle this stuff, I am amenable to doing that and being part of that conversation. Like I said, we've tightened our guidelines up. So if we need to tighten them up further, or maybe we stop doing it, I don't know. I mean, this is relatively new to me on the conversation. As I said, in the whole time that we've been doing this, which has been over a year, I've only been contacted one time with a complaint, and we were very apologetic, and we took action at that time. If they're saying, hey, no, it's still having it, we'll have a discussion with these people, and we'll try to come up with solutions. I do not want to have people, I do not want neighbors on mine, that are inconsiderate and treating us wrong. So yes, that will be addressed to the point of if we don't do it anymore. I could rent the house out to somebody who wants to rent it out for 2-year lease or whatever. I could do that. I can't tell you they'd be a good neighbor. I promise you I can't. I hate to say it, last year, these same people complained to me that our people were lighting off fireworks. It wasn't our property. It was Sonoma Verde. But we got the complaints that guests at our house were lighting off fireworks, and they told us, they said, and these people live here. These are local people. They live here. They said, we never lit off any fireworks. We had a great show from Sonoma Verde right over there. But we took the heat for it. As I said, when we first made the zoning deal, the neighbors were very, I will step backwards because I want to answer one of your questions and one of your concerns, Jody. When we first zoned the property, I was naive. I zoned the whole property for commercial. I asked for the whole property to be zoned commercial. The city planner, I believe he was, told us, he says, if you're going to zone the whole property commercial, you need to say what you're going to do on the property. He said, anything you want to do, anything you think you might do, anything you're going to do in the future, you need to put it all in the plan. So we did. We put an event center on there. We put some cottages on there. Never with an intent to really do it, just in case type of stuff. And that's what got the neighbors riled right at the beginning. They were not happy. They didn't want an event center in their backyard. I was cognizant of that. That gentleman referred to it. He said, when did they rezone this? We instantly rezoned. I resubmitted and did 2 plats, the winery on the front, the residential property on back, no event center. Never really wanted to do one myself. My wife said she might want to maybe one day do that. I never really wanted to do that. And we took everything off the plans, and I said, it's off the table. We're not doing it. It's not zoned for that. We only have the front zone, and it's only for the winery. So I understand how I riled people in the beginning. I called a place C&G Ros Development because it was a new company, and I wanted it to sound credible. You know what? I wish I'd called it C&G Winery. I really do, because it was offensive to people. So I do understand where I came in and made mistakes in the beginning. I do understand, even with the rental house, where I've learned what we're doing. It's my first time to do it. I've stayed at Airbnbs a lot, but I've never had an Airbnb before. So I do learn. Believe me, I've learned when people have messed up our house, and I'm like, hey, we got to be more strict on that. This is our property. It's not worth Would you let someone come in your house for $300 a night and mess it up? Me neither. I don't want that. So I am trying to be very cognizant of the community. I'm trying to be very respectful. I said again, I don't want to have weddings at my winery. I want to have a winery. I want to make wine. I like to make wine. I'm getting educated. I'm completing my education in enology. So I've got children that are interested in the area. So you want to know my dream, it's the winery. It's not the rental house. It's not parties. It's not event center, not at all. It's about making wine and sharing it with community and have a beautiful place, nice landscaping in the back, have it on our pond where people can sit on the deck and have drinks, not blaring loud music. I don't want any of that. So, and I think I've been consistent from the beginning in saying that's what I want to do. Again, has there been bumps? Have I taken missteps? Yes. And that's where we're at. So, and that's where I'm trying to go forward from. I'm trying to move forward. I'll work with whoever wants to work with me to come up with solutions. But I am being misrepresented a lot in people saying that I'm going to open up a bar and have big parties and weddings and events. That's never been the plan. That's not my plan. Not what I'm going to do. So, I hope that answers some of your questions. Whether it convinces you or not, I don't know what to tell you. So, thank you.
All right. Do we have any further discussion I closed the hearing, right? Or do I need to close it again?
You need it closed.
All right. With that, I'll close the hearing officially. Is there any discussion from the commission on this item? Are you guys ready to vote?
I just do have a question. The plat has been approved by the planner, city planner.
Yes, the plat's been reviewed by the city planner by me, and it does comply with all zoning and subdivision regulations that we've reviewed.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
So back to the city planner. Point of education for myself then, as learning, as just understanding the role of planning and zoning. If we have a situation where somebody's been approved, but they're not being a good steward of their neighbors, of the city in general, what is our responsibility to that?
Well, it falls outside the plat before you, so it really shouldn't be part of the discussion today.
Okay.
It should be handled between neighbors in a cordial way outside of this hearing.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. I think there's just a lot of education for the city in general of just understanding how all things work. So the greater transparency we have in these conversations and showing people the options and the resources they have, I think is just us being a good steward of our own resources. So thank you, Lisa.
Regarding the plat, then, if there's no further discussion on the plat, do I have a motion regarding the plat? I can't make this.
Okay, so a motion to vote on
Yeah, you would want
acceptance of the plat?
You would want to make a motion to approve the plat.
So I'll make a motion to approve the plat
Just as presented.
as presented.
Do you need any more than that, Lisa?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so if you just say per the conditions listed in the statute. You don't have to read them.
Per the conditions as stated in the documents provided for us.
Yeah, per the staff report. Okay. Do I have a second?
Considering it does pass the zoning,
Yeah.
we have to approve the plat, correct? Because it meets all the...
That's the state
local
regulation, right?
requirements.
If it's past zoning and it meets the plat regulations set forth.
Yeah, City Council approved the zoning, and so this before you is just the plat. You're just looking at the lot configuration, and it complies with the zoning and subdivision regulations. Once the winery opens, and if he's in violation of his PD conditions, then there could always be a called hearing by City Council to evaluate the zoning that's approved on the property if it's not compatible with the surrounding area. But that'd be only if he's in violation of his zoning regulations.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Thank you, audience, for the patience with all of us tonight. I'll second it.
Okay. All right. With that, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? All right. With that, the motion carries, Lisa. Okay. Thank you all for that. With that, we will move on to item 3.3, another public hearing. This one in regard to a request by Anthony Crowley on behalf of Ty Davenport for approval of a preliminary plat for Davenport Estates. And I'll open this one with the staff report from Maxwell Fisher, please.
This is a request for one single family lot. It is zoned ag district, and it's one lot of record, that 6.88 acres. It complies with the minimum lot area. The intention is to build one single family structure, and I'll let the applicant go in further detail. Staff is recommending approval of a preliminary plat, so this is a preliminary plat. A final plat will come back before you if council approves the preliminary plat. We found that it does comply with all the zoning and subdivision regulations. There's one correction under the conditions, or one thing to note. Because it's creating a lot and it's leaving a remainder in the back, we ask for a more of an interim access easement, so that way that lot in the back isn't cut off from access because it doesn't front a public street. So we're requiring a access easement that would be filed at the county prior to the final plat, and that information, that recordation information, will be placed on the final plat, and you'll be able to see that. So that way, in the future, when that remainder parcel gets developed or combined with adjacent parcels, it will then have legal access to a street. So we've addressed that issue. There will be engineering plans that will need to be submitted between the preliminary plat and the final plat stage that will need to be reviewed by both the engineering department and planning. So that will be a requirement. There's also 30-foot right-of-way dedication required on Smith Road to comply with their requirements, and so they're dedicating that with this plat. And I think that's it. I'll be happy to answer any questions that we're recommending approval of this preliminary plat.
So, quick question, more related to the access to the property behind, is who is responsible for maintaining that access? I'll call it road, for lack of a better word, the easement. Will that remain as part of this property? Does that ultimately become part of the property that it's accessing to, just for
Sure.
my own awareness?
Sure. So the access easement will just be an easement that basically says that the owner of the remainder parcel has rights to access that and improve the road to the city standards. It doesn't mean the road's going to get built right away, because there may not be a need to access the property. It may just be an open field until it develops. But it definitely, we definitely will require that, so that way we can build an appropriate road there if someone, because they could sell the property to somebody else, and
Right.
we want to make sure we protect them
Right.
to be able to have access to that property.
Right.
So did I answer your question
That was my
fully?
question as to who actually still maintains access to that. Who was the responsible party? Is it this landowner that, back to your point, if it's sold, it goes away, and then we still have that property in the back that's inaccessible, or does that become something that the city manages at that point? Or
So
at least
yeah,
oversees?
so the easement's established by the landowner now, and he has to get the adjacent landowner to agree to that easement. But once it's an instrument filed at the county and it's shown on the plat by reference, it runs with the land, so it can't be changed unless the owner and city agree by plat or by separate instrument in this case.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Okay. Just a second, sir. Well, hold on one second. With that, I will go ahead and formally open the public hearing on this request from Anthony Crowley regarding the preliminary plat for Davenport Estates. Is Mr. Crowley or Mr. Davenport here to speak? Is the applicant here?
Okay.
Is that you, sir?
This shouldn't even be a problem. The land's being resurveyed as we speak. I own the 144 acres that surrounds the city hall here. I own this land also. And this land, the backside, you can't get to it because of the lake that goes through there. And so I had them divide it in half because nobody wanted to buy the back half. And I said, okay, let's just go back in, resurvey this whole property, which is being done as we speak, and include that in this piece of property. So it'll be one piece of property. This property adjoins to that. I mean, I couldn't sell it any other way unless I sell it with this property. So that's what's going on. It's just a simple...
Are you Mr.
Oh,
Davenport?
I'm sorry. I'm Ty Davenport.
Okay. Sorry, sir.
And so that's what's going on.
Okay. My only question for you would be, have you reviewed the conditions from the city planner? The conditions he's put on the...
To have the easement put in?
Yeah, the conditions he's put on the...
That's my granddaughter Bethany, by the way. She's my realtor.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
I just want to confirm that you don't have any issues with the conditions the city planners put on the approval.
No, we don't. So the main one was having an access easement to the 4 acres.
Yeah.
But you would have to ask the adjacent owner. He is the adjacent owner is what he's trying to say.
Okay.
So he owns both. It's
Right.
just Yeah, he is Ty and he's Ty.
Yeah, I got you.
So,
Okay.
otherwise, the 6 acre, like if they bought the full 10, they would have to create a bridge to get to the back half
Right.
of their property. So it just wasn't feasible to sell it that way.
Gotcha. Nope,
Yeah.
that makes total sense.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Is anyone else here? Would they like to speak about, or would anybody else like to speak at the hearing? Okay, does anybody else have any questions for the applicant? Okay, with that, I will formally close the hearing. Any discussion from the commission on this one?
No, my question was just related to the easement. That's just new for me, so I just wanted to understand it.
Okay.
So made sense.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Is that still required with him being the owner of both pieces of land, since we are resurveying it, to still have an easement to your own property? It is? Okay. I think that's just been a confusing part for us, since it's still the same owner. But go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, because they're separate parcels, even though they're owned by one person, he could sell that off and it need to have access. So this is a way for us to confirm that, yeah, to ensure access. Yeah.
Thank you.
Can I get a motion then for this one?
I move to accept,
Recommend
approve
approval.
for the conditions set forth by the city planner.
That'll work. Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. All right. With that, we'll move on to item 3.4, schedule future meetings. I did talk to Lisa earlier today, and it does look like we'll need an August meeting. The normal date of our August meeting would be, I believe you said August 15th, Lisa, which is the third Thursday of the month. Any concerns with that date? Since you all know your calendars off the top of your head. Okay.
No.
I think we'll tentatively set the third Thursday of the month then. August 15th, same time, same channel. With that, item 4, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. All right. Just 'cause I don't get to keep that very often. So I'm sure Robert will be back next month. I'll steal his gavel. Thank you. Great job, guys. Let's go get some wine.
Questions I like. Yeah.
No.